Welcome to our podcast, Heart of Hope. Honest to goodness, it's been ages, hasn't it? Well, it feels
I
like
know.
it feels like it's been ages. So yeah, I think because we've both got such hectic and busy lives,
Do.
we made the executive decision to
Make it sound really professional.
to reduce it. I know, right? No, to reduce the podcast to once a month, and I think that when you've got kids and you work full time, that's what you got to do.
Indeed.
Hashtag.
Hashtag. I don't know what.
Indeed. I've got this. I'm just loving hashtags at the moment, so
No.
yeah, you'll get used to it. I don't know why. I'm just loving them at the minute. So okay, where to begin? So we've been discussing like different topics for podcasts, and we felt it was appropriate to talk about transitioning into a new school.
Yeah.
And I think this affects obviously all children anyway, but obviously has a big impact on children with autism, on the autism spectrum. Because change is really, really difficult. Any change is difficult for children with autism. So when you think after 7 weeks of a long school holidays, they get a brand new teacher or teachers, brand new routine, possibly a brand new school, brand new friends, that's a lot of change.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about strategies, things that can be put in place to kind of support our children, and what we found works, what hasn't worked, because I think it's easy for us to be given ideas and things that we could try, but they don't always work. So sometimes you've got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, Han, to kick us off, why don't we kind of look at it in general? Like, for you, how do your kids manage, going back to school? Do you find it disrupts things a little bit, or?
Do you know what I find? So summer holidays comes around and all of a sudden they're like, we can stay up late every night. That's the thing. And I think most parents find that. It's like, yeah, we're going to stay up till like 10, 11 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, no. Don't get me wrong, I am a little bit lenient in the summer holidays. Like, I will let them stay up that little bit later. But what I normally find from now, because it's not long till they go back now, so from now-ish, I kind of start that school routine again. So I'm kind of like, right, back into bed at normal time, get up normal time. I let him have a cheeky lie in, but it's kind of like establishing that little bit of a routine. And I think, but that first day is always, because everybody does the school photos and is like, come on, like we gotta look like perfect family here now. Like, it's hard work, isn't it? And like, thankfully for me, for the last 2 years, kids have been there with their dad on the first day of school, so I haven't had the mad school rush.
Wow, that's interesting.
I know. So, but then I haven't had a first day photo, so I'm like, I love the first day photo. But so I think it's kind of like managing your routine as closely as possible through the summer. So then when September comes, it's not so much of a shock. So, so like the late nights and the early mornings, try and like stick to routine as much as possible. It's difficult in the summer though, because it's like light nights as well, isn't it?
It is.
So I think it's just, it's trying to keep in that routine in there.
Absolutely. And I think it's managing expectations, because obviously if they've been used to, like you say, staying up a bit later, when we've had the grandparents over, the kids were being taken out for ice cream like every day for like 2 weeks, and it was just a bit like, as much as it's lovely and obviously I love them having that time, I'm just thinking, oh my word, I've got to be careful this doesn't turn into an expectation over the summer. So the odd time, I've taken the kids for an ice cream, but it's not been as much, and like staying up later, I think as long as you are very clear about how things are going to be and you manage it really well, it does that. All that helps. What we find, what I find, I use the royal we here, but what I find having children with autism, like it's kind of like becoming a drill sergeant over the summer, because over the last couple of years, whenever there's been, well, every year, isn't it? There's a new class, new teacher, new routine. So every single summer I get sent like a visual aid from the school with pictures of the classrooms, pictures of the new teacher, a little bit of, and not just the new teacher, the new teaching assistants. You
That's
get a
good.
picture of each teacher that's going to be in that classroom. You get a picture of the classroom itself, and you get a little bit of a write-up about what to expect. So every single year, and I mean this, every week of summer, I would go through the thing of, right, Elena, this is the new class, these are the teachers, these the and I've done this for a few years, and I always found that kind of reduces the anxiety around it. Same with taxi companies, like everything that my child needs to know, it's drilled in throughout the summer until September comes, so then they know exactly what to expect.
That's good, isn't it?
This year, oh yeah, I mean, I would say that as much as it's exhausting mentally, it is something that kind of takes the fear out of it, because you've talked about it so much that it's not the unknown anymore. It's not the unexpected. It's, oh, okay, yeah, I know what's going to happen because I've been told and reassured, etc. This year's a little bit different. So they've sent me home, the photos of the teachers that Elena can expect to have. And this year she's going to be transitioning to what they call a carousel. Right. So she's been used to being in one classroom with other kids all day, and she is at the stage where she's ready to transition from being in one set classroom to moving from classroom to classroom to classroom.
What standard comp would
her
be.
Friend, yes, exactly, and her friends have already moved on to this stage, but her anxiety has meant she's gone, no, I can't do it. So before the summer, she had a few trial days where she went to visit and spend time with her friends in the new setup, and the visits were successful.
That's good.
So she's going to be gradually moving through this now in September, and they sent me this visual with the information. So I said to Elena, let's have a look at this because you're going to be going back to school soon. And she was just like, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it. She was like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to. So now it's like the tables have turned, where if I talk about it too soon and show her too soon, she, instead of it easing her mind and making her feel better, it's going to cause anxiety.
Yeah.
I've had this like solution thing for years, and now it's not going to work. And I'm very mindful that she's at that age now where the hormones are kicking in and things are changing. And actually, something that in the past would have reassured her when she was younger, now it's potentially going to be a trigger. It's going to be something that's going to cause her to worry. So that I'm not sure how best to handle it, except to talk about it now and then where I can. So instead of it being a regular every week thing, I think at the end of this week, I'll have to talk about it and show her. I won't talk about it next week because it's her birthday and I don't want her to be stressing and worrying next week. So, and then the week after, at the end of that week, talk again, saying, right, in a couple of days. So yeah, it's different, isn't it, for different families? But
do you know what? 6 weeks is a long time to adjust, isn't it? Like, I mean,
it's a long time.
A lot of people struggle with a 6 weeks holiday, and a lot of parents for childcare issues kind of are asking, we want 4 weeks summer holidays, like, I don't know how I feel about that really. Like, I think 4 weeks for me, childcare wise, would be amazing. But actually at the same time, like, I think 6 weeks is quite nice to spend with your kids as well. Like, it's having that balance, isn't it? Yeah. Like, but then 6 weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, but 6 weeks for somebody who's got to adjust to something new like that is a long time in between, isn't it? Like, it's very difficult.
It is, absolutely.
I think you don't want to drill it in too much. Like, and like, I think of my kids, like, transitioning and like, obviously, like, my kids haven't got additional needs or anything like that, but they still get anxious about who's my teacher next year, who am I going to have?
Yeah.
You know? So it's a kind of like round the board issue, isn't it? And like you have to prepare your kids then on what you're going to have, Mrs. So and so, and da da da. Thankfully, most schools are pretty
Yeah.
good. They do these like settling in days, don't they? So like Des had hers,
They
she's going
do,
to
yeah.
year 6 this year. So final year of primary. So she had this teacher, and she like loved her, and she was amazing, and she was really funny. She was like, she's really authoritative, which is really good. So most schools have that kind of
Very
like,
good.
yeah, it was good. But they do have that kind of like settling in season, don't they? But like part of me wonders, maybe like a week or two before school starts, should they then have another settling in? Like, should they do something? Should they introduce something? Maybe for children with
Yeah.
nutritional needs or something, like even if it's just like one day a week, just kind of like help establish, oh yes, we're going to be coming back. Like no pressure, you know what I mean? Because it is difficult. Like if you think, like I think about my kids, they're like, oh gosh, going back to school. Well, how, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the biggest difficulty, I think, for parents, it's not just the managing expectations of the children and preparing them, but it's like making sure that everything is communicated, everything is sorted and organized. Like, I think for me in the past, one of the biggest issues has been like Elena has a taxi for school, and that usually gets sorted, but they ask me to reapply every year for the taxi. Like, and it's important, obviously, but it's exhausting because I just think to myself, things haven't changed. I can understand if
Yes.
they say to you, right, we're going to have you on our list. If you change address or if your circumstances change, let us know and we will get you to reapply. Then that's fine. But getting me to reapply when my child has had this service for the last few years,
Yeah,
and
that's
every single
frustrating.
year you want me to reapply, it's so frustrating. I just think, why not keep her on this set list? And then if there's a change, obviously then that's my responsibility to notify you and say, we've changed address, or she's changing school or whatever. But when that person consistently goes to the same place, it's just another thing on parents' lists
Yeah,
when they've
yeah,
got enough to think about and deal with.
yeah.
So that in itself, it's just like, it's a
How do
lot.
you how do you
And
find?
I'm not, yeah,
Sorry, I was going off subject, but I was thinking about school uniform. Like
yeah,
that's also a massive stress.
yeah,
How do you find? Because a lot of children with autism, don't they? They kind of like that's something else, isn't it?
yeah.
Like how do you manage that? Like my kids, kind of like it'll lump it, you're stuck with it. But a lot of obviously
Yeah.
children with additional needs and stuff, that is a struggle, isn't it? How would you manage that?
Oh, yeah.
What is the best way best piece of advice you could give to a parent that's got to get new uniform and they got a kid who's going to struggle with that?
I would say definitely get some communication going with school, because it's like, what do they say? Different strokes for different folks. But even though autism, a lot of people on the spectrum have different, have similarities with their sensitivities, it can still affect them differently. So, like, for example, now, Elena, her school uniform isn't such an issue, but labels are. So it
Right.
could be a label on a vest or a label on underwear. That's usually what irritates her rather than the actual clothes. Whereas I've got a nephew who he cannot cope with school clothes at all. He can't wear socks and shoes because it's painful. It actually
Mm,
causes him pain to wear certain clothes.
mm.
So he has to have specialist clothes, like it has to be a special type of material. So school have allowed him to wear Crocs to school,
Love it. I
and a
love a
few,
pair of Crocs.
adjustments. Oh gosh. Well, each to their own, as I say. But what they've done is they've allowed him to wear a jumper that is comfortable for him, and they've just imprinted the school logo on it.
Yeah.
So he's still wearing the school brand, but it is a top that's not going to cause him pain and he'll be comfortable in. So I think communicating with school what your child's needs are, what would benefit and mean your child can learn comfortably, is so, so important. because it can literally just be making the smallest adjustment that can make the biggest difference. I think depending on your child's communication needs, visuals can be a massive help. So like having, pictures of the school uniform, or even if your child has real sensitivity to clothing, whether you can get like swatches, so like the places that make the uniforms, whether you could go and visit and say, look, can you just give me like like a small patch for my child to feel the different, because you can choose, can't you, like what kind of whether you get embroidered or whether you get this, that, the other on the uniform. Just see if you can get them to test out and feel the different materials, find one that's comfortable, and then get it done up as a school uniform.
Because like Asda's, I usually get my kids clothes from Asda's because it's cheaper. But I know Asda's and Sainsbury's, their cardigans are very different. So I like the Sainsbury's cardigans because they've got almost like fur, you could almost say. So I suppose then you could go to Sainsbury's, right, have a feel of that. What do you think about that one? Go to Asda's. Asda's is very thin. So I suppose, because temperature as well, isn't it? So I suppose if your child gets very hot easily, like that's the thing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, well, temperature for me has been a big thing this year because, like, it's been extremely hot, and Elaine's been wanting to wear thick, fleecy jackets.
She's always
and
been
jumpers.
a bit like that, hasn't she?
She has, but I think it's something to do with the softness. But like the other day, it was absolutely stifling hot, and I had to bargain with her. And I said, look, I understand you like it, but can you take it off just for like 15 minutes? Do you know what I mean? It's that hot. Cool. I said, I'm not saying you have to keep it off the whole time, but please take it off for a little bit because that is how hot it was. So that's been a bit of a struggle. For my little boy, because of his, tendency to strip in class, we've had to have him go to school in a swimsuit.
Oh, I love him.
So he wears a zip up at the back swimsuit so that he keeps his nappies on. And then because, like, if it gets really hot, I just think I'd rather him just wear either the school t-shirt or the school jumper on top, not both, because he's already got an extra layer with the swimsuit. But with him, what's funny is, like, it would be pointless me giving him any visuals. He'd just rip them. Like, it means nothing to him, visuals, Yeah. So, like I say, some strategies that work for some kids don't work for others. But yeah, it's everything, isn't it? And I think, what was it we were talking about when you said about them doing tester days? They do that, don't they, just before the summer? But I think you've got a point there. Even if on the first day they do go back, have it be a bit more of a relaxed day. Where, the new teacher says, I'm going to tell you a bit about me today and things I like and what I like to do. Why doesn't everybody tell me, what their favourite things are, or maybe draw a picture of what your favourite things are to do, or, whatever you prefer, whatever medium you like, show me what your interests are or what your personality is and all that kind of stuff.
Would be good, if that was like, say, the week before school started, so the last week in August, and if they did 3 days, like a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, of just that, not even, well, maybe school uniform, I don't know. Would that help? I don't know. But like just 3 days, sporadic days of just settling in. These are where your classrooms are. This is your teacher. This is how you know what I mean? So then when it comes to the next week in full-time properly, well, they've already done technically 3 days.
It's less of a shock, isn't it? Yeah, and I suppose what you could do is have those 3 days be choose one out of the 3. For parents who can't make the 3 for their child, choose pick a day that suits you to bring your child. Oh, somebody's at the door. This is me multitasking now. No, it's fine. Hopefully somebody else will get it. So yeah, no. What have we talked about? So yeah, we've talked about clothes, food. Oh no, food. We haven't talked about food. School lunches.
This is my favourite topic.
Hashtag.
You love a hashtag.
I don't know what it is recently. I just think it adds importance to a topic. So we're like, hashtag school lunches. It just does. It emphasises what you want to say and how you want to
I know what
say
you
it.
mean. But what's good
Yeah.
about hashtag is you can search a hashtag. So if you said hashtag heart of home, people can search hashtag heart of home.
Yes, very good.
Good. But food, so
Yes.
I've got a bit of a wobble,
Yes.
not, but I've got a bit of a
A
thing about
bubble.
school and food, right? So obviously in Wales at the moment, if you're not Welsh, soz. But in Wales at the moment, all primary school children can get free school meals, which is incredible. I think it's amazing, regardless whether you claim benefits or not. And I think it's amazing. I think it's been a long time coming, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Both my kids get free school meals. But do you know what used to really annoy me, right? And even now still, I suppose, is that sort of like packed lunches. My kids always had packed lunches because it's expensive, yeah? So they'd always have packed lunches.
Yeah.
But the school demand that you can only eat certain food, and it used to really frustrate me because I'd be like, my kids are not that fussy, to be fair. Like, Des will eat tuna sandwiches. Fair play, she loves it. But so she will, but most kids are a bit fussy, aren't they? But the school like demand, they're not allowed squash, they're not allowed a bit chocolate biscuit, they're not allowed this. But yet, so they're having free school meals at the minute, but yet on their free school meals, they're having pizza and chips. Well, what's the difference between a chocolate biscuit and pizza and chips?
Yeah.
Or they're not, do you know what I mean? And it really frustrates me. And this is my bit of a bugbear with food and schools, because I'm a bit like, I know, because as we know, some obviously like autistic children are very fussy about food, aren't they? So I'm
Yes.
a bit
Absolutely.
like,
And that can cause a real issue.
yeah. And I find it frustrating with my own kids. And I think people like you, who we know, like Elena's quite fussy and G. So I'm like, I dread to think what it's like making a packed lunch for a kid who will barely eat anything. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got a school going, you can't eat that. You're not allowed that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when Elena was younger, she just went through, people say about going through a fussy phase, but it wasn't just that. It was real difficulty in finding something she'd consistently eat. So it started off with she would only eat honey sandwiches.
Yes,
That's
I
all she would
remember.
eat. Or jam sandwiches. And like I was having the TA going to me, you do realise there are other things she could be eating. I'm like, yes, I realise that. I've tried that. So I know. So I tried things like cheese, ham and crackers, and she'd go through a phase of, she'd eat them. And then all of a sudden she'd stop eating them. I was like, right, okay. So then I was like, just trying and trying. No, won't eat that, won't eat that. I was thinking, oh my God. And you're just pulling your hair out. And in the end, when we struck gold with the honey sandwiches, because she consistently ate them, I was like, I'm going to stick with the honey sandwiches. Do you mean?
Yeah.
And then I adapted it to jam every now and then. But I just thought, all I care is that my kid eats. Like,
Absolutely, I agree.
Is it the end of the world if it's the same thing?
Yeah, I totally agree. And at the end of the day, as long as my kid is having food and eating what they will eat, like my kids are pretty good and they'll eat what they're given, otherwise they starve. I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Like they will eat what they've got. I do not starve my children.
I did stop for a minute, like, what?
I've got a bit of a raw mind. Like, if you don't eat all your tea, no, you're not having chocolate gâteau. You can finish your tea. Like,
absolutely.
and I will make them and I will send them to bed. And that's it. Like,
no, absolutely. Yeah, no, because it's a good motivator to get them to eat something different.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? You can't always give in to eating whatever you want and still getting a dessert when you don't eat what you should be eating or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, like even down to canteens. So Elena cannot cope to eat in the canteen. It's too loud, it's too busy, it's too noisy, too many kids. So she usually eats in like what they call the inclusion room, which is like a sensory room, really.
Inclusion
but she's
room.
been gradually. That's what they call it, yeah.
They could call it a bit more gentle.
Gradually. Yeah, I know. But gradually, bit by bit, she's been going to the canteen and sitting with her friend because her friend didn't want to be on her own. So she's managed to do that the odd time. She won't do it consistently because it's just too much in there. But even making accommodations like that. So I think if I could give any advice to parents, it's communicate and don't be afraid to be a bit pushy and say, I know what my kid needs.
Yeah.
Because especially if you've got a specialist school, the likelihood is they will accommodate you. Mainstream school, I think mainstream schools are under more pressure to be more accommodating, or at least to be seen to be more accommodating. So if you know what to say and how to say it, you can get your way. Basically,
do you know what?
another thing.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think pushy parents are amazing in a certain regard when it comes to their kids. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, if your kid won't eat a certain thing, or they only eat a certain thing, push. At the end of the day, what's the worst school going to say? No. Well, no, sorry. That's what I've given them. That's what they eat. Like, I think pushy parents are amazing.
Yeah.
Because you're standing for your kids' rights now.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Exactly. And and I had to learn that for getting a diagnosis for both my kids, getting the support. I had to push like I had nothing else to do in life, and that's how you get results, unfortunately, is being a nuisance. And that's not my natural nature, but when it comes to my kids, I will absolutely do whatever I have to do to get what they need. So
absolutely.
Another tip I'm going to give is, oh gosh, there we go. You might be able to see it, you might not. So this is like a magnetized long peck that I made. I made one for every single day of the week for Elena. And what it is her subjects. So as an example, I've even got down to 9 o'clock arriving at school. 9:15, she's got writing. 5+10 maths, and then 5 to 11 playtime. So literally every single subject, right up to home time, it's all on here. And it's magnetized. So I made it into a magnet and put it on my whiteboard. And so each day, she's got each day's subjects and times, everything on there. So I find personally that's quite handy, because like the night before, say you're having dinner and you're talking about the next day, if your child can't remember what they've got, you can put it up ready and you can talk through what's going to happen next. I think that's particularly handy for when it's been the summer, it's been full on, and obviously they've got a brand new like routine and schedule. If you have the time, because it is time consuming to make these things, it is worth it just to add a bit of extra reassurance and support. But of course, the plan and the dream is to have my app be ready and to not have to spend the hours it takes to make these things. To be able to digitally move the pictures around and just put it on a screen, So that is being worked on. So very soon we will have this is only for people who listen to the podcast now. You get the full news, the goss. We're going to be having a clickable prototype, which is basically a presentation of what the app will do. So you'll be able to click through as if you have the app to understand how it is going to benefit. So that is coming soon. So it's not the app done, but it will show you this is how it's going to work when it's done, if that makes sense. So that's very exciting. I cannot wait. I can't wait to play with it. It's going to be great. So I think we've covered transitioning to a new school pretty well, I think. Also, just a little update. These booklets are getting updated and they will be ready to hand out soon. So very, very excited. So yeah, please do send us any questions or queries, or if there's any like area you're particularly struggling in. Obviously, we like to just share our experiences as parents, or as a parent that has a child with additional needs. And there's plenty of professionals out there that can give you guidance and support. But even if you just want to talk it out and have a sounding board, we're here to listen. And of course, please encourage people to pre-sign up and follow us. Heart of Home.